Ladies and gentlemen, humans and elves, wolf riders of all ages, this is the comic Outlaw, coming to you live and loud from parts unknown, and I'm bringing you a brand new episode of Elfquest. Yes, when we last left the wolf riders, they were trapped, betrayed by the trolls, and left in an unknown desert. And this is where the tribe seems to crumble a little bit. And of course, the chieftain tends to blame himself, but he's given confidence and boost by his people, including Tree Stump, and he's chose to find a way to see if they can move on, maybe find shelter, a forest, or something in this barren land. Although Skywise still has his stone and is pointing from one direction to another, the past and the present, and they're thinking maybe they should follow it. Although it's the blazing sun, they decide to travel at night. The desert's very cold and left wandering. But Skywise, still finding the stars, wandering and traveling, they see that it pulls them towards a certain direction. And as they hunt and go for shade, and as the problem is there's nothing to find, there's nothing to eat, there's no water, there's no food, there's hardly anything for them to survive on. So their supplies are starting to run real low. And the sun doesn't bring any comfort for them because they're used to being in the forest. They're not used to that overwhelming heat that's rolling down upon them. They're starting to wear down, and with Red Lance's injuries, he's starting to fade more and more. This puts Cutter in a grim mood, realizing that he has to find a way. There has to be something somewhere, something that can help them. But they find these hills, these mountains. But Redlands, giving into his injuries, falls. And he can't ride anymore. And him and Nightfall, his life mate, decides they should stay and wait to see if Cutter could find something, hoping. And it's nice that Cutter leaves that little part of water, that little bit, something that is so valuable in the desert. And here they reach the mountains and they find these weird plants with spines on them. Cutter, being frustrated, hit by one, cuts one with his sword, and it's wet. There's water in it. Finally, survival in the desert. They do hydrate a little bit, and then they fall upon a village, saying to themselves, can you believe it? An opportunity. But Cutter already been betrayed before, and untrusting of anyone else or anything else. He notices they build towns or civilizations like humans. And we shift the story over to a girl named Lita and a guy named Ryek. They seem to be lovers. He's trying to get with her. And as she runs off, having fun, but all of a sudden, the wolf riders invade. And they're going for food, water, anything they can basically get their hands on. They're starving at this point. They're burnt by the sun. They have people they had to leave behind, so they're doing whatever they had to do to survive. Right tries to pull a spear on it. Cutter breaks the spear, gives him the boot, looks at Lita, and for some reason, he finds her, grabs her, wants her, and takes her. And it's just funny because I love how Skywise looks at him at this point when he kidnaps her and goes, it looks like you're not carrying too much water. Just coming out of it. I just totally love that moment between them. Skywise is such a good foil. He kind of reminds me of that Nightwing kind of perspective. And as the raid starts, everyone's waiting to see what they're going to find. And of course, Cutter returns with Lita. Everyone's wondering what the hell is going on. And of course, Skywise is just laying back, wondering. Tree Stump, of course, the oldest, kind of sort of realizing what's going on. Skywise is like, well, why are you doing this? What's going on? And this character, Rayek, he's the top dog of his tribe. He's not giving up. He's actually hunting for her. And I love this little part here where, Skywise kind of like threaten her, tell her something. She doesn't know that you're lying. And then, he tries to be, like kind of like a Dark Knight, like, you you will be quiet and do what I tell you. And she just screams out. And of course, here he comes. And of course, he finds Cutter holding Lita. And he gets jumped by the rest of the tribe, which was a dumb move that he kind of came by himself, and it shows to his arrogance. But when one of the tribe, I think Pike, touches his spear, he uses his powers on him, which is a sort of hypnosis. And I just kind of like how Lita and him seem to have that connection, this feeling, this wanting. But of course, as that romantic moment is happening, they're pinning down Rag, blindfolding him, and basically tying him up. And Lita says to spare his life. And this is where the tribes start to cross over. She decides to show them mercy, realizing the severity of their situation, and brings them into the tribe. And they explain what's happening, what's going on. She meets Lita's mother, who's one of the head of the tribe. And Cutter's saying that they have two of the most important people in Nightfall and Redlands out there in the middle of nowhere. And Redlands is severely hurt. He decides to climb back on his wolf and go after them. Lita decides to follow, of course, with Rayek in tow. They go out to the desert and they find them in Nightfall, of course, chasing away scavengers, because that's how close Redlands is to death. He's falling deep into the shadows. And of course, she hears the wolf call, and she hugs out to Cutter. And of course, Lita, realizing and sensing the pain, she realizes the wound's been deeper infected, it's been poisoned. And she reaches out to the well of life. She touches something deep, mystic, driven, and pulls out the sickness from his body. But the experience leaves her shaken, and she needs time to rest before she can do it again. But he's healed, and they bring him back to the village. But yet there's so much for them to know, so much for them to find out. So they are sent to their mystic, someone that welcomes them, and someone that will show them a new way and break their silence, someone that welcomes them to sorrow's end. Now what will happen next time for our Wolf Riders? Who knows? I do. Catch you on the flip side. Yeah.